Good evening, viewers, and welcome to Storytime with me. And tonight's story is a retelling of a famous story you'll probably recognise, so I won't need to tell you what it's based on. So let's just get straight to the story. Sit back, put your feet up, and have a nice cup of tea ready, and enjoy Moldypubes and the Three Bear Woodsmen. Moldypubes lived in the desert with her granny, in a tent quite similar to this one. They were always happy and Granny was a good cook, but one day Granny died unexpectedly by choking on camel spit, and so Moldypubes was left all alone. The worst thing was that she missed her granny's expert cooking, particularly her fantastic porridge. When it all got too much for her and her ribs were poking out through her little red coat, she chose to venture out of the tent to search for food. After a few minutes, she met a bear woodsman peering around the desert wilderness. He was very big and had droopy eyes. He was holding a small axe which looked like it hadn't seen much action. "Hello, Mr. Woodsman," said Moldypubes. The woodsman stopped his peering and looked at Moldypubes. "Hello," he replied. "That's a big chopper," said Moldypubes. She knew it was rude to be honest sometimes, withheld her true opinion. "It's not as big as my cock," said the woodsman, and he unrolled 30 feet of penis from over his shoulder. "It's magic," said the woodsman. "How?" said Moldypubes inquisitively. "Sometimes when I shake it, porridge comes out of the end." "Wow!" Moldypubes was delighted. This was just what she'd been looking for. She asked the woodsman if she could try some magic porridge. Said the woodsman, looking down at his feet. "The thing is, if I give you my magic porridge, I will fall asleep, and I need to get wood for my wife. That's why I'm here." Moldypubes promised to help the woodsman get wood before she ate his magic porridge. "But where?" said the forlorn woodsman. "As everybody knows, the best place to find dry wood is in a dry forest." So Moldypubes pulled up her skirt and showed him her odd wooden bush. Unfortunately, her enthusiasm surprised the woodsman, and before you could say "trim my hedge," he was fast asleep with a funny smile on his face. Moldypubes was disappointed, and she was just about to spit on the woodsman's face when she noticed, to her delight, that the woodsman's cock had porridge all over the end. She decided it would be a shame to waste it and gobbled some down. "Ouch!" she cried. It was too hot. She spat it out onto the sand and went on her way, leaving the useless woodsman to bake in the desert sun. After a few minutes more, she came across another big bear woodsman. This one had a droopy mouth, and he was holding a greasy chainsaw. "Hello," said Moldypubes. "Hello," replied the second woodsman with a sad voice. "That's a nice-looking tool," said Moldypubes brightly, even though she really thought it looked dirty and smelly. "Would you like to see my cock?" said the second woodsman in a sad voice. He pointed to a long, thick phallus that stretched into the distance from his groin. It almost seemed to reach the horizon. I don't suppose it's magic by any chance, is it?" said Moldypubes hopefully. The bear woodsman scratched his head. "I don't know," he said, looking at the ground, "but somebody did text me on my mobile once from the next village to tell me that there was magic porridge coming out of the end. Then I fell asleep." That was all Moldypubes needed to hear. "Are you trying to get wood for your wife?" she asked him. "Yes, actually. Do you know how I can?" Before he had finished speaking, Moldypubes had whipped up her skirt and flashed her odd wooden bush at the second bear woodsman. Like a flash, he was asleep, with a curious smile on his sad face. Moldypubes began walking the length of his sandy cock, and she grew tired in the heat of the desert. "I hope the porridge is just right when I get to the end," she thought. Many hours passed, but finally, by dusk, she reached the end of the cock, and hurrah, porridge! She gobbled down a mouthful, quick as a mouse. Yuck! It was cold. That was worse than the first one she tried. "I wish Granny was here," she thought as she spat it onto the sand. By now, Moldypubes was tired and still hungry. She decided to set off again along the penis and maybe try again another day. But before she travelled far, she saw a third bear woodsman. This one was much smaller than the other two, almost as small as Moldypubes. He had an angry looking face and an enormous bulldozer and lots of heavy deforestation machinery. She also noticed that this woodsman had a tiny penis compared to the last two she'd seen or walked along. "Hello," said Moldypubes. "What? Shut up!" screamed the third bear woodsman in an angry voice. "Look at my tools! Look at them! Have you ever seen such equipment before? I could tackle any forest with this. Ha ha!" Moldypubes was taken aback. Now she couldn't compliment him. She tried to think of something to say. Have you got a wife?" "What?" said the bear woodsman, turning a funny pale colour and going all quiet. "Go away! Leave me alone! I don't need a wife because I've got massive tools!" And he started to cry. Oh dear, thought Moldypubes. If there's one thing she knew about woodsmen, it's the fact that they all needed wives. But Moldypubes needed porridge. Then she had an idea. Excuse me," she said. "What?" screamed the woodsman. "If I were your wife, would you get wood for me?" The woodsman looked up at her. He dried his eyes. "Yes, I'd get wood every day." "Why?" he said inquisitively. "I just want to check something," she said. Then she whipped up her skirt and for the third time that day flashed her odd wooden bush. The woodsman was asleep and grinning before his head hit the sand, and to Moldypubes' delight she saw porridge instantly. She gobbled some down. Delicious! It was just right. When the woodsman woke up, they got married and lived happily forever. Finn. That concludes today's story. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy your nice hot cup of tea and relaxing rest. And I'll make another story soon. Bye bye.